everyone, I'm Cassia Streb with Music for Your Inbox, and today I'm going to invite Cherlyn Hsing-Hsin Liu and Michael Pisaro-Liu to join us to talk about the video and the postcard art that they've made for this month. So just sit tight while I do all of the fun joining magic. Here we are, friends.
Hi.
Hi, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Perfect. And I can even see a projector in the background, so it feels like your whole team is present. So yeah, I wanted to introduce you both. We've got Cherlyn and Michael, and you're the co-collaborators for this month's film, Excuse Me, Miss, that we're really excited to be presenting on December 20th. And I was just wondering if we could kind of time travel a bit back and talk about how this project kind of came to be. I know that we had some meetings in April when we were talking about our original idea. In fact, I should say your original idea. And then it's kind of evolved and changed since then. So I thought maybe we could talk through that journey because I find it to be a really interesting path. So I don't know, Cherlyn, if you feel like starting with the beginning idea that you had and telling us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Cassia, for the invitation, and thank you for having us. Thank you for Music for Your Inbox. This is really, we are really happy to work on this project. And at first, we thought of maybe doing some painting on film, and and then Michael will do optical soundtrack, directly create some pattern or sound directly on celluloid film material, and I will paint directly on film. And that was the original idea, and then we did a lot of research about how to draw or what kind of pattern. We did some study of what kind of pattern on the film will create some kind of rhythm. And we also did some study about what kind of abstract pattern, reference to abstract art history, and in the West and in East as well. And so we started from there, but then you want to continue why the idea has changed.
Yeah. The next stage of the story was Cherlyn thought, well, as long as we were drawing on the film, correct me if I forget any of this, but we were drawing on the film, she thought we might use some found footage that concerned drawing. And we found just by chance on eBay a used or an old film of the children's story, Harold and the Purple Crayon. And so we bought that. Thought we might use that because it was a favorite story of mine when I was a kid. You didn't know it though, right?
I didn't know anything about it. And we watched the film.
Yeah.
We projected the film in our house. And
that's amazing. So you projected it in the living room or something?
Yeah. In fact, I even think we told a friend we were going to make a film that used Harold and the Purple Crayon. This would have been June or July, maybe.
Yeah, and he was very excited about it.
And I don't know how many people know the story. Probably most people do. But Harold has his pencil and he's drawing his whole landscape. And at some point, he starts drawing a city because he's escaping from a monster. And Cherlyn saw this and she said, well, if we're going to have that in the film, I want to have a real city in the film.
Right. So we shift gear again, and we went to LA downtown area. So we shot different places in LA, including downtown LA, North Hollywood, Echo Park, Thai Town, and Little Armenia.
Little Armenia.
Armenian. And anything else?
No.
I forget.
Well, there are a few. I mean, we shot a bunch of them.
Chinatown.
That's right.
Yeah. yeah, we hope to film more locations maybe in the future, but that's what we got for now.
Yeah, we got so fascinated by this footage because Cherlyn sees, I think, the city differently than other people do, and we got so excited about that became the film.
Well, I think everyone sees the world differently a little bit, right? So,
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's the beauty of having a filmmaker is that we actually can see how you see it. I mean, that's what's exciting to me, at least, about the film. So, like the part, the film that I've seen is that I really am seeing the places through your eyes because that's the whole point to have your perspective.
It's a very interesting experience for both of us too. It's a discovery of the city for both of us. Like I live in this city for over 10 years, and then you
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. But there are still many places that we never been or we never really took a very close look at, and so it's a very interesting experience.
Yeah, well, and if like to be clear, you weren't pulling out your cell phone and recording images. I mean, this is on film, so it feels like it was a more patient process because if you saw something, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me, I'm imagining you see something, you pull over, and then you have to get yourself all set up and ready to shoot. Yeah. So you really are taking the time to patiently observe and get a sense of the space.
Yeah, I don't know how casual you can be when you've got to have the film and you have to have Cherlyn shoots on a 16 millimeter Bolex projector.
Bolex camera.
Oh, camera. And we know every time we shoot that the film has got to be developed, which she did all the developing herself.
Yeah. So
actually, I was hoping. Well, actually, you just jump right into that. I was hoping you could talk to us a little bit about that process because I know that from talking to you, it sounds like there's different ways that you can go about doing that, and that you chose possibly one of the harder, more complicated ways. But for a good reason, because you care passionately about the outcome and how this looks. So yeah, could you just, for the lay people or people like me, to walk us through what you're doing to develop the film?
Definitely. So the film originally was shot on 16 millimeter color reversal film. Color reversal film means that you can directly project the original material. Traditionally, like in industry, like in Hollywood production, let's say, usually you will shut on a negative, not reversal, because you need to reproduce the print to distribute, and so you need multiple prints, so you can't just have one original print. So they will shot on their work will be shot on negative, and then they will send to the lab and to make a positive print. So in this way, they can always use the negative to reproduce a new print, another new print. And we, because for economic reason and for artistic reason, so we choose to use the reversal film stock. First of all, because I can do hand process. And when I finish hand processing, I don't have to send to the lab to make another positive print. And that reduced the cost for one, but the other one is more original. And so during the process of hand processing, hand developing, you will involve a lot of like personal choices and also like intimate physicality. This will all left trace, kind of trace on the material. So whether you pull out a film and then maybe has a little scratch, or when you thread a film on a reel and put into the soup, chemical soup, you will create a different kind of either scratch or different kind of handmade trace. And when I look at the film, I can determine what what kind of temperature or how long I want to put into the chemistry. So I can control the contrast, the contrasty, or I can control the color. It's very interesting process for me. I especially I did that for several projects in the past, and I think this is a very unique process. And also, we get the original material; we can just project it. But in this case, in this piece, we sent to the lab and then did the scanning, so then we can show digitally.
Right. Right. Of course, it would be very insane to mail everybody the film. So I'm wondering, and thanks for taking us through that, Cherlyn. I know that it sort of probably feels like you're teaching a Film 101 course, but I certainly appreciate it. For Michael, with the sound, you were right there when everything was being shot, right? So you were hearing everything. Did you have a field recorder with you the whole time, or did you create the sound afterwards?
Both, actually. I was with Cherlyn at every location, and I did field recording at all the locations we went to. So I end up with about an hour, I guess, or more of field recording of all these different places that Cherlyn listed. Sometimes we can go somewhere with the sound recording that we can't go with the camera. One thing we learned, I guess we might talk more about this, is that when you're walking around in LA, especially, I guess, with a 16 millimeter camera, everyone knows you're filming. And it draws a lot of attention to itself. And the film itself reflects a bit on this process. We might say more about that, or people might just see it.
Right. Yeah.
But you can hide a field recorder much more easily. So there are recordings of places in the film that we used in the film that we didn't shoot any actual film there, but I did get field recording.
Is it sort of feel like it's two separate collages? Because it doesn't sound like there's a lot of synchronicity between the video and the audio, right?
Yeah, there's really no sync sound at all. So sometimes you have, we work on the sound together, and sometimes Cherlyn would use sound from a field recording that happened to be near a location that she was actually shooting. But even in instances like that, there is no real syncing going on. Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of conceived of it as, it's almost like they are synced in various ways. In other words, things happen in the film at certain times that correspond to what happens in the sound.
Right.
But it's almost like you have two pieces running parallel. So you have a film work which has all of these, all this original material we discussed, plus things that Cherlyn did in post to the film. And then similarly with the sound, there's field recording that's pretty straight. There's a fair amount of quite processed field recording, or you could say almost musique concrète things that were built from the field recordings. And then there's instrumental sound as well on the soundtrack.
Yeah, I was sort of, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I did hear that this is your synthesizer debut. So there are some. Yeah, for all your adoring fans, the moment has arrived.
Yeah, I've never actually played, I mean, I've played synth, but I have never played one on a piece before. It was always just fun before. And it happened because we were looking at a close to final version of the film. And there was one middle section of the film.
Don't spill.
Okay, yeah. Cherlyn requested that I play synth. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
She said, I
There's
think
a moment that
maybe some synthesizer here.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like it's really that you're really, really responding to what you're seeing in the moment. It's not as though these are two separate artists who then put everything together at the end. It sounds like they're both being built concurrently.
Yeah, it's both surrealist and hyper real piece. Yeah.
And I know, Cherlyn, you also were performing some theremin on the score, is that right?
I think we only use a little part of it because I asked him to do synth, and then because he did so well, and I ended up adding a lot of synth, and we cut out some of the theremin.
Yeah, replace. I mean, this is something I've learned. Probably every filmmaker knows this, but you record a lot more than you use.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's quite true for the sound as well. So we had a lot of recording that we did. I have about, if anybody's interested, I have about half an hour of Cherlyn playing the theremin.
Well, you will, probably people will hear it in the background. There's a scene where we see like a movie theater, and there's a ghost only.
Yeah, I have no idea what it was, but on the marquee, it's right on Broadway, near Grand Central Market. Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this is the mail art.
Can
we talk briefly?
Are you going to introduce this now or later?
Yeah, no, it would be great to actually talk about the mail art. It's so great to see it on camera. So
we can probably talk about this image. This is from the actual film. So I don't have the film. Or maybe. So the actual film is like 16 millimeters, like.
Well, it's on the reverse side, right?
Yeah.
There.
Oh yeah. I forgot here. So you can see it, and this is the real material. This is from those outtakes from the actual film, from this film. And so we just cut little pieces attached to the mail art. And this is the image of the film. And so you can still see the sprocket holes from here. And this is the frame, each frame. And the little trick is if we light up, if you use a flashlight, and you light up the little hole. Can you guys see?
Great. Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can see this
cool.
image is illuminating. It's really beautiful.
It looks kind of like a blue worm if you focus. Oh, there. Wow.
Yeah.
And you will see the image. You will see the image on the mail art, and so hopefully, and everyone, because this is a genuine, this is original piece, so everyone will kind of receive different pieces from this work from the film.
Because it's like,
go ahead.
Pardon?
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's from the cutting room floor, like it's actually a piece of the film, which is sort of amazing.
Pieces. So this every piece is unique.
Yeah, well, we like, with Music for Inbox, we're always pairing the video and the mail art, and in this case, they're like quite literally connected in that the mail art is a piece of the video. I mean, it's a piece of film, but it's from the video that people will receive, and that was really special. That was really neat to see. Even just the different shapes with the hole puncher, and it feels very interactive, very tactile. Anyhow, so yeah, we were, so we've talked about the film, and we've got the sound sort of sorted, and then the mail art is also from the two of you. I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk a little bit about the film that didn't get made, because it sounds like you've created like about 10 different ideas of possible future films, and that's what I thought was so exciting about this project, is that it's really this catalyst for this future collaboration. And I know that you were already talking about painting on film. Could you tell us a little more about that, Cherlyn? Because that's such a cool aspect of something that you're working on right now. Or did I get a head shake from that?
The work that
the painting on
film. I explored different areas then. So at first, initially, in order to learn how to paint on film, because celluloid is, this material is polyester, and so it's kind of a plastic. And if people have done like painting on other material like papers or some other like fabric, you will know every material that you paint on will show different textures and things like that. plastic is very tricky because the quality that when it only dries is not really absorbed. So when it dries and it shows the different layers of the paint, but sometimes it doesn't show very well. I use acrylic or water paint. I use oil, I use ink, and just to try out different kind of texture on this material particularly. And because this, this is a really small area to paint on, so in order to study better, I bought a 8x11 piece of transparency with the same material, polyester, so then I have a larger area to paint. And because of that, and I paint like 9 or 10 in pieces, and I put them on a light box to see the texture. And I figured that's gonna be, I see a life coming, kind of coming out. A project was born kind of out of that process. And so I decided to let it go on its own. So the idea is I will use the transparency and maybe transfer it onto 35mm slides, and to project using the slide projector, and to project them on a wall. And so they will become like a slideshow, but they are painting, and those paintings are portable because they are this small. But
oh, right.
Yeah. So, like in the past, you see like painting on the wall in a museum.
Right.
It's hard to think about shipping, but now it's very economic. You only carry those little pieces, and you can make an exhibition in anywhere in the world. So that's kind of fun idea coming out of this project. So thank you for the invitation.
Well, I mean, it's kind of you to offer your gratitude, but in the time that we've worked just as producing partners with you, I get the impression that you seem to be the kind of artist who takes this tiny seed of an idea and then just sort of tends to it, and there's all these little sprouts that pop up, and then you seem to have all these opportunities, and then it seems from the outside looking in, it seems that you're choosing one of those sprouts to sort of turn into the final product, but then the other ones are still there as little seedlings that you can come back and cultivate and grow into other ideas, which is really, it was neat for me to watch because that's such a generative process, and I'm interested in that, as an artist as well. And then, like, Michael, I was curious because I know you so much as an instrumental composer or electronic music composer and improviser, and this is the kind of, I haven't seen a lot of the things that you've done for film, or heard a lot of the music you've done for film, and I'm curious for you, what is different about the process of composing when you actually have this visual element to accompany versus when you're doing your other composing?
Yeah, I don't actually have that much experience working with film as a composer. I mean, people have taken, usually with my permission, music that's already recorded and put it to film. There's been a fair amount of that, but only when Cherlyn and I got together did I start making things that I knew would appear on the soundtrack. And it's very different because it has to, the only way this is really interesting for me is if the sound is wrapped up in the film itself, that it's an integral part of it. And it's kind of always been true for Cherlyn's work. Her earlier films, she did the sound, and they're also already like elaborate music concrete pieces. The thing that, all kinds of things happen when you're involved in making the film at the same time. I've been watching the footage as it got shot, and we've been talking over what was usable and what wasn't, and all the things that happened along the way. So, it's a whole different stimulus for how to write a piece. Now, what I'm not doing is making sound that goes image to image. So in other words, there isn't the traditional kind of soundtrack where I know exactly what's on screen and then I'm playing while watching it. It's more like we have an idea of the kind of sound or the kind of thing that can work, and then I go off and work on it a bit, and then Cherlyn will take it and see how and if it belongs. I mean, one of the things that we can do, which we've done on the other projects, is go through many iterations. So, you know, we're doing this in the digital kind of realm, and we can put film and sound together and figure out together if we think it's working, and then if not, I can go back and make more material or alter it. So there's really a lot of feedback in the process as this is going on.
Well, I'm curious, as you're talking about that, this seems highly iterative process and that continues in this cycle. How do you know when you're done? Like, how do you decide that something's finished? You know what I'm saying? If it's sort of like you pass to one person, they pass back, and yeah, how do you pick an end?
Well, honestly, when we hit the deadline and the project is done.
That's a beautiful answer that many artists can relate to.
Okay. Normally, I don't know. I like to think. I like to think this way. I never think a project is done. They have period. So it's probably just they have stages. So this one we see as an initial stage. And then we're already thinking about the next stage, which will be part 2. And we're thinking about other things which might go into the future will be the part 3. So normally I like to think this is an open ending. And so that will keep us or keep me continue working on this project until I lost my inspiration.
Yeah, one thing about this one is that, I mean, I guess we went to about 8 or 9 different locations and spent a day pretty much in each location, which might seem like a lot of time because it adds up to around 14 minutes, but it's still just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to possible locations in LA. And I mean, most of what Cherlyn filmed, you might not even see if you're driving down Hollywood Boulevard or if you're driving down Broadway or in the Fashion District, because it's something you'd really only see if you get out of your car and spend a little bit of time on the street corner, on the street, and you start to notice things that if you have an eye for it, like she does, you start to notice things that you wouldn't even really look at otherwise, but then looked at through the camera, they're suddenly really interesting. And they're not the things that people typically associate with scenic places in LA. They're much more down to earth. But if you look at the city in that way, I mean, how many different locations could you go and continue to find interesting material? So yeah. This project will probably have, I guess, we'll probably have more parts just because we're going to have more locations.
Yeah, and normally I don't like to put too much pressure on myself, like to finish one project. I guess I like to think about making art or making film is part of my life, is part of part of everyday life. So just keep working on it, and something will come out of it, and life goes on, and enjoy every moment. And keep exploring, keep discovering. I think that's mainly the very fun part of it.
Mm.
Right. So you're following this idea and this thread sort of until you run out of steam on that, and then you're sort of following the next one along. That's really neat. That's really, thank you so much for being so candid and so open about your process, because that's the kind of thing that personally I'm interested in, but I think a lot of artists are interested in this idea of, well, it's what we're all kind of doing without maybe necessarily saying it out loud, but just using art as a way to move through the world. And in this case, we're really seeing it because you're, moving through the city, but it can be in a more nuanced way as well as you're sort of moving through your life. We had one question from the audience, if you don't mind answering before we sign off. Somebody was asking about the title to the film. Do you feel like sharing that story, or is it a mystery until we watch it?
Well, if you watch the film, you probably will get the idea. But okay, I think it came out of the experience I normally have as a, I'm less foreign right now, but I'm still a foreign person to this country or to this place. And that's part of it. But another reason is, like Michael mentioned earlier, when you go out to film or to do film production, you have recorder, you have mic, you have camera and big lenses, tripods, you have all the equipment with you, and everyone is it draws a lot of attention, and people sometimes will come up to ask you a question, what you are doing while you are filming this location, and things like that. The other reason I use this title is just the idea of to emphasize the existence of filmmaking. As a filmmaker, people walk by and you are in their way, and then they will say, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
You realize you are interfering, interfering other people's life, or interfering this cityscape. You are part of the city and you are part of this landscape, but you are also taking image of this landscape. So this is the emphasis of the medium, the extent of the medium. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I just wanted to, again, thank you for joining us and for agreeing to be a part of Music for Your Inbox for this month. We're very excited to be mailing out the postcards around the 20th. People shall receive them, although with the holiday mail, things get a little slower. But of course, the email never slows down, so that will arrive in people's inboxes on December 20th. And if anyone wants to see the film, they can get tickets and a password to access the film on our website, Music for Your Inbox, or in our bio. Yes, thanks to you both, Cherlyn and Michael. And we look forward to screening your film.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much, Cassia. We had so much fun doing this.
Great. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.